Most men believe that saying yes to everything a woman wants will earn her respect. They're dead wrong, and this misunderstanding is destroying their relationships, their self-worth, and their masculine core. The man who cannot say no is not generous. He's afraid, he's not kind, he's desperate. And deep down, everyone knows it, especially the women in his life. Today, we're going to explore why the word no is one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess, and why your inability to use it is sabotaging every relationship you touch. Here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. A man who says yes to everything says no to himself, and a man who abandons himself will inevitably be abandoned by others. Let me paint you a picture. You're at dinner with a woman you care about. She suggests something. Maybe it's an expensive restaurant you can't afford. Maybe it's a social event you genuinely don't want to attend. Maybe it's something that conflicts with your values or your goals. What do you do if you're like most men? You say yes. You rationalize it. You tell yourself you're being accommodating, supportive, loving. You convince yourself that this is what good men do. But watch what happens next. She doesn't light up with gratitude. She doesn't fall deeper in love with your selflessness. Instead, something shifts in her eyes, a subtle disappointment, a quiet loss of respect. She got what she wanted, but she lost something she needed, a man with a backbone. This is the paradox that confuses most men. They think compliance equals love. They believe that removing all friction from a relationship creates harmony. But they're confusing harmony with the absence of conflict, and these are not the same thing. Real harmony comes from two strong individuals choosing to align their paths. Fake harmony comes from one person dissolving themselves to avoid disagreement, and women, at an instinctual level, can sense the difference immediately. When a man cannot say no, he sends a message that penetrates deeper than words. He communicates that he doesn't value his own time, his own needs, his own boundaries. And if he doesn't value these things, why should she? But more than that, and this is where it gets psychologically fascinating. He removes himself from the equation entirely. He becomes a yes machine, a people-pleasing robot that exists only to affirm and accommodate, and you cannot respect something that has no independent existence. Think about the people you most respect in your life. Are they the ones who agree with everything you say? Are they the ones who never challenge you, never push back, never force you to think deeper or aim higher? Of course not. You respect people who have convictions, who stand for something, who are willing to disagree with you when disagreement matters. Women are no different. They don't respect men who dissolve at the first sign of potential conflict. They respect men who have something inside them worth protecting. Values, goals, standards, boundaries, and who will defend these things even when it's uncomfortable. This isn't about being difficult or contrarian. This isn't about saying no just to prove you can. This is about understanding that your no gives weight to your yes. When you say yes to everything, your agreement becomes worthless. It's not a choice, it's a compulsion. But when you're selective with your agreement, when you're willing to disagree, when disagreement is warranted, then your yes becomes valuable. It becomes a gift rather than a guarantee. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of living according to your own nature, not being swayed by every external pressure or demand. Epictetus taught that we must focus on what is within our control, our choices, our responses, our boundaries, rather than trying to control the reactions of others. When you say no from a place of self-respect rather than selfishness, you're practicing one of the highest forms of Stoic wisdom. You're acknowledging that you have limited time, limited energy, limited resources, and that these things must be allocated consciously, not carelessly given away to whoever asks. But let's dig deeper into the psychology of why this works. When a man can say no, he demonstrates several crucial qualities that women find deeply attractive. First, he shows that he has standards. He's not desperate for approval or acceptance. He's not willing to compromise his values for the sake of temporary harmony. This suggests that he has something valuable to offer, something worth protecting, something that can't be bought with mere agreeableness. Second, he proves that he thinks independently. He doesn't just mirror whatever the people around him want to hear. He processes information, weighs it against his own values and goals, and makes conscious decisions. This is the hallmark of a leader, not a follower. Third, he reveals that he has self-control. Saying no often requires resisting immediate gratification. The gratification of being liked, of avoiding conflict, of taking the easy path, A man who can delay or deny this gratification shows that he's not controlled by his impulses or his fears. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, he demonstrates that his attention and agreement are finite resources. When something is scarce, it becomes valuable. When something is abundant, like the approval of a yes man, it becomes worthless. Here's what most men don't understand about female psychology. Women don't just want to be accepted by a high-value man. They want to earn that acceptance. The chase, the challenge, the sense that they've won something that wasn't freely given to everyone. This is what creates deep attraction and lasting respect. When you say yes to everything, you rob her of the opportunity to earn your approval. You make yourself too easy, too available, too predictable. And while this might seem loving and generous, it actually deprives the relationship of the tension and excitement that keeps it alive. Think about it this way. If someone offered to give you anything you wanted, whenever you wanted it, with no effort or consideration on your part, how long would that remain exciting? How long before you started taking it for granted? How long before you began to wonder if what you were getting had any real value at all? This is what happens when you can't say no. You become the relationship equivalent of participation trophy, awarded not for excellence or effort, but simply for showing up. But saying no effectively isn't just about the word itself. It's about the energy behind it. It's about the place it comes from inside you. A weak man says no out of spite, insecurity, or a desire to control others. This kind of no is petty, manipulative, and ultimately repulsive. It's not about protecting something valuable. It's about exerting power over someone else. A strong man says no out of self-respect, clarity of purpose, and commitment to his values. His no isn't about controlling her, it's about controlling himself. It's about staying true to who he is and what he stands for, even when that's inconvenient or uncomfortable. The difference between these two approaches is everything. One pushes people away through selfishness and insecurity. The other draws people in through strength and authenticity. When you say no from a place of strength, you're not rejecting the person. You're honoring both of you by being honest about your limitations, your values, and your boundaries. You're saying, I respect you enough to be real with you, and I respect myself enough not to pretend to be someone I'm not. This kind of honesty is rare. Most people, especially in romantic relationships, are so afraid of conflict, so desperate to be liked, that they hide behind false agreeableness. They say what they think the other person wants to hear, not what they actually think or feel. But this creates a fundamental dishonesty at the core of the relationship. If you're not being real with her, then she's not falling in love with you. She's falling in love with a performance. And performances are exhausting to maintain and impossible to sustain. When you can say no authentically, you give her the gift of knowing who you really are. And that creates a foundation for real intimacy, real connection, real respect. Let me give you a practical example. She wants to go out with her friends tonight, but you had plans to work on an important project. The people-pleasing man says, "Of course, honey, whatever makes you happy," while internally resenting the sacrifice and feeling frustrated about his delayed goals. The authentic man says, "I'd love to support you having time with your friends, but I've committed to finishing this project tonight. Why don't we plan something special for tomorrow instead?" He's not punishing her or trying to control her. He's being honest about his priorities and suggesting an alternative. Which response do you think generates more respect? Which one demonstrates more strength, more self-awareness, more genuine care for the relationship? The first response might avoid immediate conflict, but it creates deeper problems. It builds resentment, establishes a pattern of self-abandonment, and teaches her that she doesn't need to consider your needs when making decisions. The second response might create a moment of tension, but it establishes healthy boundaries, demonstrates self-respect, and invites her to engage with you as an equal partner rather than a subordinate who exists to serve her desires. This is the crucial distinction. Saying no isn't about being mean or difficult. It's about being real. Most relationship advice tells you to communicate more, to be more understanding, to compromise more. But nobody talks about the importance of knowing when not to compromise. Nobody explains that some things shouldn't be negotiated away, even for love. Your core values, your life goals, your personal boundaries, your self-respect. These aren't things you should trade for temporary harmony. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Sometimes, saying no to one thing is really saying yes to something more important. When you can't say no to the small compromises, you'll find yourself incapable of saying yes to the big opportunities. Think about the most respected men you know. Think about the leaders, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the athletes who command genuine admiration. What do they have in common? They have clear boundaries. They know what they stand for. They're willing to disappoint some people to stay true to their vision. They understand that you cannot please everyone, and that trying to do so is a recipe for mediocrity and resentment. They've learned that respect isn't earned by being agreeable. It's earned by being authentic, consistent, and principled. This doesn't mean being rigid or impossible to work with. Flexibility and compromise are important in any relationship. But there's a difference between healthy compromise and self-abandonment. Healthy compromise means finding solutions that honor both people's needs. Self-abandonment means pretending you don't have needs at all. The woman who truly loves you doesn't want you to abandon yourself for her. She wants you to be strong enough, secure enough, grounded enough to remain yourself while choosing to share your life with her. She wants to know that when you say yes to her, it's because you genuinely want to, not because you're afraid to say no. Here's the paradox that reveals the deeper truth. The men who are most willing to say no are often the ones women most want to hear yes from, because their approval means something. Their agreement carries weight. Their love feels earned rather than given away freely to anyone who asks. When you develop the ability to say no with confidence and kindness, you transform from someone who hopes to be chosen into someone who does the choosing. You shift from reactive to proactive, from desperate to selective, from needy to valuable. This shift changes everything. It changes how women see you, how they respond to you, how they feel about you. But more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. You stop being the kind of man who seeks external validation for his worth and start being the kind of man who generates his own sense of value from living according to his principles. You stop trying to earn love through compliance and start attracting it through authenticity. The path forward is clear, but not easy. Start small. Start saying no to things that genuinely conflict with your values, your goals, your well-being. Don't say no to be difficult. Say no to be honest. Don't say no to prove a point. Say no to protect what matters. Pay attention to how this changes the energy in your relationships. Notice how people respond when your agreement becomes a choice rather than a guarantee. And remember this: a woman who loses interest in you because you have boundaries isn't the woman for you. The right woman won't be threatened by your strength. She'll be attracted to it. She won't want to diminish your boundaries. She wants to earn the privilege of being inside them. The ability to say no isn't just a relationship skill. It's a life skill. It's the foundation of self-respect, the beginning of authentic living, and the prerequisite for building anything meaningful in this world. Every time you say no to something that isn't aligned with your values, you're saying yes to who you really are. Every time you protect your boundaries, you're creating space for what truly matters. Every time you choose authenticity over agreeableness, you're building a life and a character that can command genuine respect. This is your challenge. Start practicing the art of the authentic no. Start small, be consistent, and watch how it transforms not just your relationships, but your entire sense of self. If this resonates with you, if this changes how you think about strength and respect, comment below. I control my boundaries because that's what this is really about. Taking control of your life by taking control of what you allow into it. The path to respect doesn't run through constant agreement. It runs through authentic disagreement, when disagreement matters, and conscious choice in everything you do. Walk that path and watch how everything changes.